All right, hey guys, today we're talking about how to create a retirement income worksheet. If you're a federal employee, you're going to pay attention to this. I feel like too often we make things a little more complicated than they have to be. This is designed to be a simple, straightforward way to figure out how much retirement income you're going to have coming in and when. The framework you can use to do this on your own. So stay with me here. All right, so first of all, guys, my name is Justin. I'm a financial advisor, been doing this for a long time, part of a federal family myself. And if you're looking for help creating a custom financial plan, understanding your federal benefits, looking at your investments, we can help you with that. That's what we do. We help federal families in our community here in Northern Virginia, as well as across the country, okay? So please feel free to reach out, use this as a resource. Let's get into what we want to talk about here today. Retirement income planning worksheet. How do you create it, right? So what's really important to understand is how much income you might have coming in and when you can expect it. So you can make those plans. And it's good to be thinking about this 5, 10, 15, even 20 years out from when you're planning to have that retirement date from your federal career. And this is targeted towards career federal employees. So you're going to make the most of those benefits, including your FERS basic annuity. The first thing on my list here is thinking about expenses. Okay. So on your retirement income worksheet, on the top of it, we want to find out how much money we're going to spend, right? How much are you currently spending can give us a good idea of how much you might spend in retirement. So let's do an analysis of where your money is going right now. Do you know where it's going? If you don't, this is a great opportunity to check in on it. Okay. So a really good way to do this is take your last 6 to 12 months of spending, dig through everything. I want to know how much money you spent everywhere, where every dollar went. Okay. And we can break it into categories: fixed expenses, discretionary, those one-time expenses, which were major goals or bigger purchases, and then the unexpected things that came up through the course of the year. If we know how much you spent over the last 12 months, it's going to give us a really good idea of how you're using your money, if there's any opportunities for change. And we found this to really carry through into retirement. People spend about the same amount. Sometimes they're even spending more now with the way that retirement has changed when they get there, when they transition into those non-working years. Okay, here's what happens. Maybe your mortgage falls off, some of your taxes fall off, but you end up spending more money in other places. Healthcare, maintenance around the house, you need more help doing certain things, and you want to do more travel, entertainment, leisure, different things that you're now building into the budget that weren't there before you want to spend on. Their priorities now. That's why things really don't change. No one wants to live more frugally, right? Once you get used to a certain lifestyle, it's really hard to go backwards. So that's why we use the current spending. 80 to 100% of what you're currently spending is kind of where we want to benchmark it. And this isn't set in stone by any means, because we know life doesn't move in a straight line, but this can give us a good idea of what our target is, what we're shooting for in the future. All right, that's step one. Step two, this is where it gets fun. Thinking about those retirement income sources. So if you're a federal employee, you're going to have the big three for the most part: your FERS basic annuity, Social Security income, and any investment income. So retirement accounts like your TSP, Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, other investment accounts, maybe even some real estate rental properties that are producing income. Okay. All right. So first on our list, let's talk about that FERS basic annuity, your pension. Pensions are a powerful thing. They're rare. Not many private employees or private sector employees have these nowadays. So it's really, I think it's the most powerful benefit federal employees have, and you want to take advantage of it. You need to understand how it works, how it's calculated, and when to make the right decision to go out. So the actual formula is pretty straightforward, right? So you have a multiplier, which is typically 1% or 1.1% for most federal employees, and we'll get into which one may apply to you, times your highest 3 years of average salary throughout your career. So your high 3 years times the number of years of service you work, right? Now, OPM tells us most career federal employees go out around age 61. That was the average. And they have 25 to 26 years of service, right? So if we run the math on that, 26% times your highest 3 salaries, basically what you're going to be looking at from your first pension. All right. So in order to go out on an immediate unreduced annuity, you got to meet some criteria here. You need to be minimum retirement age, which for a lot of folks is between 55 to 57. It's just slowly creeping to be 57 for everyone. You can find the chart on opm.gov. There's a nice chart that shows you by birth year what your minimum retirement age is. So you need to be minimum retirement age plus 30 years of service to go out with an immediate unreduced annuity. Or the next step is 60 years old with 20 years of service. And then finally, if you don't meet that, you can be 62 with 5 years of service. If you don't meet that criteria, you have minimum retirement age plus 10 years of service, you can still go out. There's just a 5% reduction for every year you're under the age of 62. So if you went out at 59 with 26 years of service, you'd have do the math there. 3 years times 5%, you'd have a 15% reduction because you didn't meet 60 and 20, you didn't meet 57 and 30. So that's where the reduction comes in. Now, I mentioned 1.1% versus a 1% multiplier. For most federal employees, it's gonna be 1% unless you go out at age 62 with 20 or more years of service. You have to be age 62 or older with 20 or more years of service in order to qualify for that 1.1% multiplier. All right, so this should get you thinking, how long do you wanna spend in your federal career? How do you see your salary changing? Will you have pay raises in the future based on grade, promotion, those steps that you might take throughout the course of your career? Where do you wanna end up? Take a look at the chart, apply an inflation index on that, right? So if you're, currently you're GS15, you're making $175,000 a year, you need to index that for inflation, but you also need to index it. Will you step up within the GS15 grade, right? Now, there are some differences for special category employees. We're not going to get into that within this video. I'm going to create a separate video for those folks, but different multiplier applies, different formula. Just from that standpoint, use 1.7% multiplier for the first 20 years, 1% for the years beyond 20. Okay. So that's your first basic annuity. Run the numbers on that. Think about how much that might be worth and enter that on your retirement income worksheet. That's really going to be the first source of retirement income we want to look at. Now, in addition to your first basic annuity, you may be eligible for a special retirement supplement. So if you go out between the ages of minimum retirement age and 62, this is an additional benefit that applies to kind of fill the gap for Social Security because you're not eligible for Social Security until you hit age 62, right? So this can kind of fill that gap, right? So if you're eligible for it, it can be a really nice benefit that kind of mimics that. And there's an easy way to calculate it. This is not exact, so you're going to want to check with the agency to get your, the actual calculations, but you can take your age 62 Social Security estimates times the number of years of federal service you have, divide by the number 40. That'll give you a pretty quick estimate on what your SRS could look like if you're eligible. A couple caveats there. There's no cost of living adjustments on the special retirement supplement. Back to the FERS annuity, cost of living adjustments don't start until age 62. With the special retirement supplement, there's also an earnings test. So if you go back to work after you quit your federal career, you go into private industry, something like that, there is an earnings test where you can lose a portion or maybe all of your benefit, okay? But that's okay if that's part of the plan. All right, so that's gonna be first basic annuity, special retirement supplement. Try to figure out what those are gonna be, enter them onto your retirement income worksheet. Second step, Social Security income. This one is pretty straightforward. We need to go to ssa.gov, create your account, look at your work records, see what your estimates are as they currently exist. Right? We know this will change with your work record, and what Social Security is quoting you now is in today's dollars. So again, if you want to try to adjust that for inflation, it's another step, additional math that you have to do, but it could be valuable if you're quite a few years out from your retirement age. Some big things to consider here. First, taxability. Social Security is going to be taxed, for most people at 85% of your benefit is going to be taxable, okay? Deciding on when to claim is another big deal, right? You can go out as early as 62 and claim your Social Security benefit. Full retirement age for most folks is 67. That's when you'll get your full benefit. If you go out at 62 versus 67, you're going to get 70% of that full retirement age benefit. So there's a 30% reduction. Likewise, if you wait until 70, there's a 24% increase in your benefit from 67 to age 70. So deciding when to claim can be a big deal from that standpoint. And a lot of folks will look at it this way. Do I want to pull money from my retirement accounts, put the stress on those investments, or do I want to start taking Social Security because I do need this income, right? So it's kind of a balancing act and you need to decide what's right for you. Spousal benefits are another thing, especially if there's only one working spouse. So the longer you delay those Social Security benefits, the more they accumulate, the more that's going to benefit a non-working spouse because they will receive your full benefit when you pass away. That's how the survivor benefit works. All right, I intended for this to be a little bit shorter, but there's just so much valuable information here. So the next step on the retirement income worksheet is to look at your investment income. So that's your retirement accounts, TSP, IRAs, Roth TSP, Roth IRAs, any other taxable investment accounts, even looking at rental income you might have from some real estate properties, but we're going to stick to the investable portion of this. So how much money can you take from your portfolio of investments and how much are you going to have? Those are kind of two questions we need to answer, right? So general rules of thumb, the 4% rule is not really a rule. It's just a strategy. It gives us a framework, a benchmark of how much money you might be able to take from your investment portfolio. So 4% of whatever the principal balance is a decent number we can work with to say that's how much money your portfolio can generate and give us a greater probability of maybe not outliving those funds over the course of your retirement, the course of your life, okay? So 4% is kind of that number. It's not set in stone. Of course, you could take more or less than that and the plan can still work, but that just gives us a framework of what we can, what we might have to work with. So if you had $1 million in a TSP account, you could take $40,000 a year. If you want to stretch the limits, go up to 5%, that's $50,000 a year. But to back into that, you need to figure out how much you might have at various retirement ages. So project out to 57, 60, 62, whatever the number is that you want to work with, and kind of run the numbers on what's your current account value, how much you can contributing on an annual basis, how much you plan to contribute in the future, what's your expected rate of return, are you looking for 6, 7, 8% returns consistently over time, and then how many years. Plug that all into a present value calculator, and you can kind of get a straight line projection of what your accounts might be worth. Now, of course, that's a straight line projection. We know, as I mentioned earlier, life doesn't move in a straight line, so we need to take that with caution and monitor and adjust this thing as time goes on. But this can give us something to work with, okay? If you need help with those present value calculations, I'm happy to be a resource for you there. Do this stuff every day. Love doing it, actually running the numbers. Another consideration there, we haven't talked about taxes too much. This is just kind of giving us our gross income. So there will be, if you have a pre-tax TSP, pre-tax IRA, there'll be deductions that will come off because you're gonna have to pay federal income tax on that money. I said we're gonna keep this simple. First thing we talked about was expenses. So calculate what those expenses might be, and then we're gonna add up those 3 sources of retirement income. Your FERS basic annuity, what might it be worth? Social Security, think about what it might be worth at 62, full retirement age, 67, 70. When are you going to claim it? Just get an idea of what those numbers look like. And then how much of an investment portfolio will you have at your retirement age, and how much money will that produce? If you add those 3 numbers up, does it give you a positive or a negative cash flow against those expenses that we're looking at? Okay, that's what we want to do. That's how you create the retirement income worksheet. That's how you start being proactive with your money. So hope this has been helpful. I know it wasn't necessarily short, but I think we covered a lot of information here. I hope you find some value. Would love to hear from you, right? So if you have some questions around creating your own retirement income worksheet, it's what we do on a day-to-day basis. Would be happy to help you. Please reach out. And if you can, please give us a like and share this information with any friends, colleagues you think might find some value here. So until next time, guys,